Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to talk about getting through the holidays. Holidays are such a difficult and stressful time. They bring up a lot of emotions often. There's so many expectations put on us by family, friends, and ourselves. There are parties, social gatherings, meals, and a whole lot more to attend. The problem is when you have trauma, it is very common to be stressed and triggered by these kinds of social events and expectations. Although we tend to be people pleasers as trauma survivors, we really need to set boundaries in order to keep ourselves healthy and ultimately happier. Because the holidays can last essentially from October through January, it's important to have a plan on how to handle situations that may arise from family members, friends, and our own expectations. We'll start with family members. Although I really understand that we want to go to the family gatherings, and I'm going to take these off because I see a reflection. I understand that we want to go to our family gatherings and we really want to see our family, especially because it can be a really lonely time. And the holidays are about spending time with family and friends and everything. We can show ourselves love by creating boundaries for ourselves, such as only going for a certain amount of time, letting our family member know ahead of time that we're only going to spend a certain amount of time there, or that we may leave early. If you drive, bring your own car so that you have control over when you leave. It's kind of one of the things that I do often is I don't like to go to other people's houses and have them pick me up or whatever, because I then don't have control over leaving. I have to rely on them to leave, and that puts me in an awkward position. And so if I bring my car, then I can decide when I leave, and I can just say, okay, I'm going, and get my car and go. So also, if they start becoming abusive, then it's okay to give yourself permission to leave. As long as it's not going to make the situation worse, and you're going to be safe. You can take a time out though and go to the bathroom and do some grounding exercises, some deep breathing exercises. If you want me to do some more on those kind of things, just put it down below in the comment section, and because I'll read those, and I'll do some videos on that kind of stuff. Getting through the holidays was something that was requested, so that's why I'm touching on this. So finally, it's okay to know what's going to happen and know that if you go to your families, that it's just going to create a lot of drama and a lot of heartache, and to not go at all, or to meet them in a public place for a visit, because we still want to see them, but sometimes it's safer for us and for if we have kids, especially for them, to meet in a public place. So if you want your kids to see their family member, it's a good idea. It lets them see them, but it keeps everybody safe, because safety needs to come first, especially when you're thinking about these boundaries. The idea is to make sure that you're being safe and what's going to keep you the safest emotionally and physically. Okay, so next we're going to go into friends, because we need to also set boundaries around our friends, because we love our friends. They're very important to us. My friends that I have are super important to me. And if they're truly our friends, they'll accept us for what boundaries we need to set up or put into place for our safety and well-being. Our anxiety gets really high during the holidays, and we need to be mindful of when we're getting overwhelmed. We can't be everything to everyone. And I know I try to be, or I used to try to be, I don't anymore. But we tend to try to be everything to everyone. But it's okay. You feel like you're being selfish, but you're not. You're loving yourself. You're doing self-care. You're taking care of yourself and your needs, and that's okay. to understand that putting yourself first and making sure that you're emotionally and physically safe and well is very important. So it's okay to take a day or two away from friends as long as it doesn't lead to isolation and isolating ourselves, because that's not healthy and good for our well-being. Okay, so finally we have expectations of ourselves, and I can speak for myself. My expectations of myself are extremely high. I imagine that that's one of the things that come with trauma, because, and it goes with the people pleasing, that we want to make people happy. We want to do everything, that we want to be perfect. I have a huge perfectionistic streak in me. So if we can remember that we can't be everything to everyone, people who've been through trauma, I said again and again, we tend to be people pleasers. And I, as I said, I used to be huge, but we will do ourselves more harm than good, and it can ultimately possibly hurt other people if we do that. Because even if we end up, falling into a depression, and I don't know, with my friends, if they see that I get upset and they think it's because of them, which it's not, but if they think it is, and they get upset, and it's just kind of a vicious circle. We can't buy everyone a present, and the people who know you and love you and care about you will know this. We can't visit every friend on our friends list. I don't know about some people have like 200, 300 friends on their Facebook. I'm sure you don't even talk to half of them, but you're not going to be visiting every one of them over the Christmas holidays. And this doesn't make you a bad person. You can only do what feels right for you and what you feel capable of. Because if you get yourself overwhelmed, then you end up crashing, and that's not good for anybody, because it takes away from your life. It takes away from doing the things you want to do, and it takes away from visiting them maybe in the new year. Because it doesn't all have to happen now. You can visit some now and some in the new year, and just bite off little pieces so you don't get overwhelmed. Celebrate the little pieces and the little bites that you do take every day, because just waking up and having a shower, or waking up and making yourself breakfast, that can be something to celebrate when you have trauma or depression or mental health issues. Mental wellness is what we're aiming for, but if we have mental health issues, those little steps are something to celebrate, because they can be so challenging. So I want to go over a grounding exercise, because grounding is so important, especially when you've been through trauma. It's simple to do. I can do it in my head so that nobody knows I'm doing it. I do a lot of little grounding things all the time. I'm constantly doing things that are grounding me, keeping me here in the present, the here and now. Even now, even though I'm what I consider I'm well, I'm still grounding myself all the time, because it's overwhelming out there. And because trauma alters your brain as a child, it's not that easy to just leave everything, even if you are well. So this one is often called the 5-4-3-2-1 method, or the 5 senses. Different people call it different things. If you don't do it perfectly, that's fine. It's okay. Any version of doing it should still help ground you. And one of the things that I've done is, if I know that I'm going to a situation that could be triggering, I kind of let a friend know, or let somebody that I really trust know, so that if I call them and I tell them, okay, I need you to do this with me, they'll tell me, okay, Crystal, tell me 5, well, I'll go over it, but tell me 5 things that you see. And Okay, so I'm going to tell you how it goes, and then I'll kind of tell you more about the story. As I had to do it last year with somebody because in my addictions and mental health class, there was something that was super triggering, and I needed help with getting grounded because I didn't anticipate that being triggering. And sometimes when I'm really triggered, it's harder to bring myself down. And back to the here and now. So with this, you start with putting your 2 feet on the ground. You always want to make sure that you're physically grounded. I'm bouncing the bed. So that you're physically grounded to your here and now. So just kind of, and I tend to tap my feet just to make sure that I know I can sense that ground under me. So then what you want to do is name 5 things that you see in your environment. So in my environment right now, I see the fan, I see the camera, I see my computer, things like that. So I could name all 5, but I'm not going to. And then you name 4 things that you can hear. So right now I'm hearing the sound of my own voice, which is kind of weird, but I am. And I'm hearing the fan because I have a fan that's going beside me because I tend to use white noise when I go to bed, but I tend to leave it running. So I would name 4 things that I can hear. I can hear the cars outside too. And then I would name 3 things that I can feel. So that one's really important. And you can switch and do 4 things that you feel and 3 things that you hear, if that makes more sense to you. I kind of like that idea, actually. So what you would feel is you would feel that ground underneath you. So when I tap my feet, I feel that ground underneath me. You can clap your hands, or, I tend to rub my fingers together. No, I don't know if anybody ever noticed that, but I tend to rub my fingers together a lot because that's grounding me. I think when people are autistic, they call it stimming. But to me, it's grounding. So, I tend to rub my fingers, rub my finger is weird, I know, but that's okay. That's my little thing, and that's okay. It's what works for me, and that's what's important. So you just make sure that you're feeling your environment. So it's bringing you back to understand that you're not that little child who is defenseless and that was going through whatever trauma you were going through. You're here, you're now, you're in 2019. Today for me, it's December 13th, 2019, and I'm bouncing it again. Sorry. It's X o'clock at night, and that could be one of the things that you do is just say the date, the time, to really bring yourself back. Okay, and so the next thing that you do is name 2 things that you smell. So sometimes that just doesn't work, because if you don't smell anything, if there's nobody around or nothing around, and there's no way to smell anything, then you can't name 2 things that you smell if you're not being able to do that. So you can name 2 things that you really enjoy the smell of. A lot of people loved homemade cookies baking or bread baking. I love that stuff. But I'm a baker. I love to bake. I bake candies and all that kind of stuff. So making cookies or cake or that kind of thing would be just, that would be a smell that I would like. Or the Wendy's chili. I like the smell of that. I worked at a Wendy's for a while. I was a shift supervisor there. So I love the smell of their chili. Just something like that. And I'm sure that there's something that would bring you joy that you remember the smell of that you like. Or if there's a perfume that you like. That kind of thing. And finally, the last one is name 1 thing that you taste. And again, if you don't have anything that you are eating at the time, then you can, 1 thing that you love the taste of. What do I love? What do I love? I love mint chocolate. We'll go with that one. So I could think of that. So again, just even thinking about it will bring you back to the here and now. One of the things that I like to do is earlier on when I needed this stuff more, is I'd pack things in the bag, things that I could feel, like a little stuffed animal that was fluffy or soft or something. Bring something that was full of color. Bring an elastic band to put around my wrist if I needed to. bring some Vicks, because Vicks Vapor Rub for me, that is a, sorry, my Fitbit loves me. My Vicks Vapor Rub is a soothing scent for me for some reason. So those kind of things. I would, some candy or some gum, I would put in a bag, a little backpack or in a purse, and I would bring it with me to make sure that if I might be upset, especially if I was going out into a social situation, I would have those things with me. So I'm going to continue that story I was starting before, now that you kind of have an outlook of how this works. So I would have, so last year when I was triggered in class, I called my sister, and I said, okay, I need you to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with me. And she knew right away what I needed. And she's like, okay, Crystal, I forgot where I was for a minute. She said, okay, Crystal, name 5 things that you can see. And so I named them off. And it was hard. I was like crying. I was upset, which is a good thing, because if I'm crying, I'm usually pretty close to feeling things. And so I'm pretty close to being present. But I needed just help being just a little bit more present. And then we went through the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And by the end, I was able to take a few deep breaths and go back to class. So it worked for me. It was great. One of the other things that I tend to do, I'm almost always wearing shoes or slippers because my feet are super sensitive. So I tend to wiggle my toes or tap my toes inside my shoes, just to kind of keep myself present. If it's particularly bad, yeah, I'll tap my feet or toes. It depends on who's around, because I don't want to draw attention to myself. I really don't like when people know that I'm upset. Part of my trauma, part of my upbringing, part of everything was you're supposed to present a certain way. So I haven't gotten past that. So I need to present like I'm together and like I'm okay. So I don't like when people know that I'm upset. So I try to do things in private and in a way that people don't see. So it depends on who's around how I do things. I might tap a little harder when people aren't around than when people are around. But it keeps me in the here and now, and that's important. So if there's any other ideas that you want to share, you can put them down in the comments. If there's anything else that helps you get through the holiday, if there's anything else that you want me to go over or talk about, if you want me to do some more grounding exercises, some other things that have worked for me, then I can do that. I wish you all the best over the holidays. I'm going to keep posting, but I wanted to make sure that, being that it was the holiday season, that I addressed getting through it, because I know it's one of the hardest times for me. Even that I consider myself well, I still, trauma is a lifelong journey, and it's something that you're going to have to, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but it's something that you're going to be recovering from for the rest of your life. The way I look at it. And so I still struggle at Christmas time. It's still a sad and hard time for me, but I do well. I do fine. I get through it. Just, it's okay to cry if that's how you feel. I know it's hard to give yourself that permission. I still don't cry very often, but it is okay. And I do. So you do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Make sure that you're safe. So I hope this helps you get through the holidays. Seeing people that you don't want to see or that aren't healthy for you to be around is difficult. So make sure that you set your boundaries, that you play it safe, do what you need to do for you, perform self-care. The number one thing I hope for you this holiday season is for you to be kind to yourself and to respect yourself. Be safe. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you hit the bell, you'll know the next time that I upload a video. And take care. Thank you.